Hi, I'm Greg Howlett. I want to take a moment and talk to you about a new arrangement that I just stuck out at greghowlett.com, a free arrangement. It's called He Leadeth Me. It's what I call one of my 15-minute arrangements because, as I always say, I'm trying to get an arrangement to you that you can learn in 15 minutes. The caveat, though, is I only spend about 15 minutes arranging it. So you get what you pay for, I suppose. But I stuck this one out there, and this one maybe is a little more complicated. This is actually a little tricky. A little more tricky than some of the other things I've put out there. As a matter of fact, we probably should call this a 30-minute arrangement. I don't know, but I was playing through it a few minutes ago and thought, you know what, I really should talk a little bit about it. I think a lot of the hang-ups that we have with printed arrangements is the fact that we look at paper, printed paper, music on paper, and we really don't understand what's going on in the arranger's mind, how they play it, how they hear it. And if we don't have that picture, sometimes it gets confusing to us, or we really don't get everything we can out of the arrangement. That's a problem I used to have playing books. I would play an arrangement and say, you know what, I just don't get this. It doesn't make sense to me. But I'm sure it made sense to the original arranger. So I'm going to try to sort of overcome that a little bit today because I can understand. This is one of those arrangements that if I'd have picked up 10, 15 years ago and played, I would think, you know, I don't know if I get this. So I want to do that for you really quick. By the way, there's you should be able to see a performance of me playing this, or a clip of me actually playing this and performing it, which would help a lot. But I want to talk through a few things here really quick. First of all, I want to talk about the overall concept. Now, I'm calling this song He Leadeth Me. But when I look at an arrangement like this, I'm not really looking at it as an arrangement of He Leadeth Me. I'm looking at it as a palette of music, or sort of like you could call it a painting, that has He Leadeth Me interwoven into it. Now, I know that sounds a little pie in the sky, a little theoretical, but here's what I'm getting at there. We have this concept or this mindset sometimes when we arrange that we need a song, and then we're going to tag it with an introduction, put a tag on the end, put a mod in the middle, maybe something else in the middle, and we call that an arrangement. And that's one way of looking at it. But I want to move away from that, help you move away from that a little bit, and rather than that, I want you to see an arrangement that has a hymn interwoven through it. In other words, everything's cohesive, but the arrangement itself is telling a story, is painting a picture. And we look at it from that perspective, rather than a song with an intro. I hope that makes sense. I know that's a little bit pie in the sky. But that's what I'm thinking here. I'm trying to paint a palette with this arrangement. And if you've played through it or if you've heard me play through it, you know where I'm going with it. It's a very, very relaxed, gentle treatment, a very relaxed, gentle arrangement, and it happens to have a relaxed, gentle He Leadeth Me interwoven through it. Now, not all the way through it. I don't think we bring it in for the first 45 seconds or so. We have a lot of little interludes that take 4 or 8 bars, which is 20 seconds in there. We move away from the melody again at the end. So, and this is actually a 3-minute song, but probably only 2 minutes of it are you actually hearing He Leadeth Me, maybe less than that. But you're painting a picture of gentleness, relaxation, something very typical for how I play. If you're looking for something bombastic, probably should look somewhere else because I just don't do much of that. But this is a very typical thing for me. And it starts with a very, very simple treatment. Now, that is really simple in terms of notes. But the trade-off when you go to simple notes or you have fewer notes, you have to make more of the notes you have. So it actually gets a little bit more important to get really focused in on things that you've heard all your life. For example, in this case, melody. The melody line, which is very simple, I'm playing just the first 2 bars. Very, very simple melody line, but you have to make something of it or it won't work. Now, we're going to emphasize the melody. The bottom obviously is not as important, the bass. So we're going to make something of the melody, little swells, a little bit of rubato. Little swell. Now we're coming down. You hear how you have to make something of it. You shape every line, you shape every little phrase. And what I'm doing through this song is I'm starting with that little concept. It's a little idea, and then I'm going to elaborate on it. The next line, we still have it, slightly different idea, as opposed to going up or coming down. And then we're going to get a little more fancy, but the same kind of feel. And now we're going to get simpler. Okay, so the idea, and we're ready to start the song. But make something of the whole thing. Less notes, but it just means you have to work a little bit harder to make something of the notes you have. Okay, so the song starts, and I get a little bit fancier. By the way, I really took a very simple approach harmonically in that idea that we started with. We keep going back and forth between F and B flat over F, which is just 1 to 4 over 1. And I talked about that in an earlier clip just to prove that you could make a nice line over a very simple chord progression. And so I stuck with that for this whole song. But once I get to the verse, I go back to maybe a little more of my traditional, or traditional for me, my kind of harmony, where I'm changing to some more interesting things. And you'll see them. If you're familiar with my music, you've heard this stuff before. Okay, we're going from, by the way, this is going from G minor 7. This is bar 10, 11, 12. We're going from G minor 7, and then we're going to C7 with the flat 9. Okay, I wanted to point this out a little bit because I've written a 10th in the bass clef, or in your left hand. And I know that probably 1 out of 5, maybe less than that, of you are going to be able to play that. But I put it there because if you can play it, please do. It's a great sound. Really pretty stuff. But if you can't play it, and don't feel bad if you can't, there's another solution. Just bring up your left hand and play a 7th. Play C, E, and B flat. Almost as nice. Not quite as nice, but it's almost as nice. Okay, now I'm going to introduce something here that I'm going to use twice in this piece, and that's where I'm going to build on a sus chord, the 5 sus. I do this a lot. I'll use a sus chord, the 5 sus. Some of you know that chord as 4 over 5. Same thing as saying a C sus chord, but we're going to play that and we're going to build it. It's just a nice little chord to build, and we're just going to hint here. This arrangement, by the way, it takes into account the fact that if you actually pulled out this hymn in a hymnal, when you get to these phrases, it's a little bit awkward. You don't know whether to pause or go right into the next line. And so what I did here is I did some 6/4 bars for you, so you'll know exactly what to do. Just a little swell. We're just going to build dynamically just a little bit. Right there again, that's bar 19. You have that same thing where you can play a C7. Either way you played is fine. And then we're going to go back to that same opening theme. If I'll play the right notes. And here's a little bit more involved. Again, playing the right notes here again. Still not perfect, but it'll do. We're building just a little bit here. So we're going, and you probably know where we're going with this. We're going to have a little climax, just a hint at something powerful coming up here at the in the last 4 bars. But we're building a little bit. Okay, now we're back to C sus4 again. This is that chord, the 4 over 5. It's actually a suspended dominant chord, and it's the chord that you can really build tension with. And I'm staying on it for 3 bars just to build that tension. Now, you can completely ignore all the notes that I've written there. You can make up your own thing. Basically, you're playing a B-flat chord over a C in the bass. I don't care what you play. I wrote something in there that's close to what I might do. But you can do anything you want. The key is we're using it to build tension, and as you see, we're going to build dynamically, but the other thing we're going to really do is get really broad, huge retard on it, and we're going to work our way into that last 4 bars, sort of like this. Okay, so you got it. Hopefully I'm not blowing out. I'm watching my meter over there to make sure I'm not getting too loud. But there is, and by the way, it's only going to last a couple of bars. We're going to be loud in this whole piece, just a couple of bars, and leave them wanting more, and then we're going to come back down. But there is your climax. Right back to the nice, gentle. And you got to really take your time through here. Huge retard through there. And then back to your little theme. Again, it's a little bit different theme, but it's the same thing we started with. We just changed the rhythm just a little bit on it. Okay, so the tricky little thing going through there, to be honest with you, is coming back down very, very quickly after you play, let's see, what bar is it? Bar 33. We're actually going to just be, we're building to the climax, which is at 32, sorry, which is that's your climax, but it's the only 2 bars that are loud really in this song. And then we want to bring it way down. Now you can, if you don't want to come down as fast as I do, I like to go really go soft right away. But if you want to bring it down a little bit fast or a little bit slower, that's fine as well. But anyway, here it is again. I don't know if I was even playing what I have written. I lost myself for a second, but that's the idea. And if you can't do it that way or you don't like to do it that way, just change it. You're always welcome to do that as well. That's about it. And then, of course, you're going to end this song sort of how we started, very simple. Okay? So the idea is you're painting a picture and you have just a little hint of something in the middle that's powerful. But in general, it's just there to basically give just a tiny speck of variety to the piece and leave the audience wanting more. But this is not a piece that you want to bang by any means. If you bang it, it's not going to sound right. That's it for this one, and I hope to see you again.